Hi, my name is Hannah Reichenbach, and first off, I want to start off by saying I apologize for the really bad quality. I'm filming this on my school iPad that I have from my high school that we have to do work on because we are virtually working. So, my research paper was on the negative impacts of social media on teenagers. To start off, today, if someone were to walk up to any teenager, the likelihood of them having at least one form of social media is remarkably high. After conducting a survey, I have found that those who have social media, in fact, are more likely to develop mental health issues rather than those who do not. Even though teenagers put on a happy facade, they tend to be quite the opposite. In most cases, social media is detrimental to the health of young minds. In fact, social media negatively impacts teenagers. As the survey was conducted, a series of responses came to follow. These responses came from teenagers between the ages of 13 to 19. However, most respondents were between the ages of 16 to 17. As respondent responses became more and more, it became clear the direction of research was beginning to take. There was an overall of 69 people to respond to the survey conducted, as well as an overwhelming amount of honesty in the questions asked. The teenagers who took the survey, however, were from a small county in rural Pennsylvania. Throughout researching, there was a wide spread of answers, ranging from the good and the bad. In the survey, a series of different questions were asked. These questions all were relevant to the mental health issues resulting from social media, or not. Within the research, not only was a survey conducted, but other research on relating topics to help the survey. Unfortunately, the data between the correlation of social media and mental illnesses is close to none. There have not been many to explore the topic to find successful results. There have been various other people who have tried to find the correlation between social media and the health of teenagers. According to Barth 2015, the research has been quite contradictory. Some teenagers, in fact, feel disconnected, as where others feel more connected than ever. However, a consistent variable is the amplification of emotions, Barth 2015. There are certain variables that play a role in mental health. Barth 2015 claims that technology from a young age is a major factor attributing to the development of mental health issues. Social media heavily influences the society everyone lives in today. Therefore, social media has positives while also having some negatives. Due to the ability to post whenever, wherever, no matter who you are, social media is very explicit. There are people who believe it is okay to cyberbully and to take this to an extreme. Those people, in fact, have problems themselves as they have no idea how to deal with them. Cyberbullying has been said to increase dramatically within the last decade. Sensi Hiru Vinstra Selmivali 2014. Finding out what to identify with is another major component to life. Often it can be confusing as it is to try and figure out things, and social media does not always help. Teenage years are the moments when the opinions of oneself start to develop. However, teenagers need validation from their peers. Barbashi Balea Valiku 2018. Without validations, these young adults are faced with doubt in themselves. These young adults never know what is acceptable and what is not because social media has a variety of different opinions. One opinion always seems to contradict the other. Those very reasons are why teenagers start to develop or have developed mental health issues. The internet has become the most widely used way to connect with other people in the world today. Due to the speed of the internet, these connections are made within seconds. This is not always a good thing. This means people have seconds to say the wrong thing, to push someone to their breaking point. That is why social media can be so scary. You never know who is on the other side of the screen and what they will say. Not knowing is the worst part for some people. Teenagers strive for acceptance from others, and coming from strangers is when it means the most. Among young adults, suicide and depression are common, particularly among those being cyberbullied. Duarte, Pittman, Thorson, Cunningham, Ranney, 2018. However, there is extraordinarily little data to prove a negative correlation between the negative impacts of social media and mental illnesses, Duarte et al. 2018. Therefore, it can be hard to truly know if a mental health issue stems from the social media factors or other factors in an adolescent's life. There are certain characteristics, however, that play a role in why someone is being cyberbullied. These factors include whether one is a minority or not, their gender, and the one that receives the most bullying is what sexuality you are. Duarte et al. 2018. Sexual orientation is the only discovery that Duarte et al. 2018 made in which there was a correlation between cyberbullying and mental health issues. However, it was then discovered that the more time one spends on social media in this research, the greater risk of developing a mental health illness. Duarte et al. 2018. However, Reed, Cooper, Nugent, and Russell 2016 conducted a study in which they found cyberbullying to have a positive correlation to mental health issues, like the study that soon will be discussed. Young adolescents often have nowhere to talk to somebody about the issues they are dealing with. Reed et al. 2016 states the urgency for ensuring safe environments for teenagers to neglect this opportunity, because it will in fact help those and fully better understand how social media plays into the mental health issues that teenagers face today. There is also research, though, on how depression in young adults, along with other mental health issues, can stunt the process of finding out your identity. Pitts 2012. This can cause a downfall to society. Pitts 2012. These teenagers could have so much potential, yet are put under the pressure from not just social media, but all over the place. Unfortunately, depression and social media can cause a lack of sleep. Press Piorca and Bloschino 2020. Losing sleep can cause one to not properly function. Without sleep, you cannot fully comprehend what goes on around you. According to the Future Time Perspective Scale, depression is the biggest factor in sleep loss than social media. Press Piorca and Bloschino 2020. However, social media should be the cause of sleep loss as well because of the depression that stems from it. Social media does not just cause mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. Social media also causes lack of identity. Dobrea and De Rosa 2020. Because of the freedom to express whatever on social media, the exposure to new topics is greater than ever. There are things no one would have ever discovered if it were not for social media. This can be a positive, yet it can also be a negative. Dobrea and De Rosa 2020 used the platform YouTube as a major example. Through videos, exposure to the never before becomes more and more of an occurrence. It was found in the research that Romanian teenagers identified more with the European culture because of the videos they watched. Dobrea and De Rosa 2020. This research is an amazing example of the extraordinary impact social media can have on the young adults today. Sadly, sometimes these impacts are not the best for young minds and young bodies to adhere to, proving, in fact, how big of a toll social media takes on young adults. Teenagers are often struck with mental health issues, thinking they are broken because they cannot figure out where these issues have stemmed from. Often having nowhere to go, nowhere to talk about said problems, along with feeling alone. This survey was conducted in order to determine how social media negatively impacts teenagers, thus giving them mental health issues and body image issues. For the survey to be accurate, only teenagers were asked to respond. As responses were coming in, there were issues to be faced, which was to be expected. However, the participants were also easy to work with, happy to be involved in research. The survey method that was in use would be that of conducting a survey, just like a mail survey, but instead it was through Google Forms. This was sent out to friends as well as high school classmates in order to receive responses from teenagers. There were many questions to be asked relating to mental health of those who have social media and how they perceive themselves, versus those who do not have any form of social media. The survey was sent out to over 100 people, and the responses were that of 69 people. Through Snapchat, Instagram, and Gmail, the research was able to be conducted. Email was for those who did not have social media. The respondents ranged from binary to non-binary. However, they were all teenagers between the ages of 13 to 19. This was in order to make sure all teenagers were included to receive accurate information. These respondents were given a series of questions, including their age, if they had been diagnosed with a mental health issue. If so, what was the diagnosis? Did they have this diagnosis before or after they had discovered social media? How did they feel about their body? What do they wish they could change? What do they want to keep the same? How do they feel on a day-to-day basis? And an open-ended question asking if they would like to reveal anything else about themselves. There is not an incentive for participating in this survey strictly due to the circumstances regarding COVID-19 and having done the survey through internet. The responses were varied, starting off with the first question. What was your age? I have a visual representation. I hope you can see. It's just, sorry. So, you can see there are 69 responses. Here's the first pie graph for the first question. First question being, what is your age? 47.8% of people said that they were 16. 17.4% of people in the purple said that they were 17. 17.4% of people that are in the orange down here said that they were 15. And then there are a few other slivers that range from 18 to a small sliver of 19, a little larger sliver of 13, oh, I'm sorry, and then a small sliver of 14, as you can see. The next question was, what do you most identify with? There was 23.2% resided with male, 72.5% resided with female, and this small sliver of orange resided with other. Those who selected other most felt that they identified with gender queer. And then asking, do they have any social media? 67 people, or 97.1% of people, said that yes, they do have social media. 2 other people said no, they do not. The majority that had social media had Snapchat. 66 people had Snapchat. 63 people had Instagram. 51 people have Facebook. 60 people have TikTok. 38 people have Twitter. 37 people have Visco. And 16 people had other. Then asked, do you have any diagnosed mental health issues, even if they were self-diagnosed? 62.3% of people said no. 37.7% of people said yes. If so, what is it called? Majority of people said that they have anxiety and depression, and some even said they have insomnia, and went into further discussions of the type of anxiety, the type of depression that they have. The next one is, did you have mental health issues before or after getting social media? 33.3% of people said before, 47.8% of people said after, and 18.8% of people said non-applicable because they don't have a mental health issue. And then asking, do you find yourself attractive? 18.8% of people said yes. 23.2% of people said no. And 58% of people said sometimes they feel attractive. And then, what do you wish you could change about yourself? A lot of these wishes to change about themselves was all to do with their physical attributes. I'm not going to read them all because there's way too many of them. But it includes my skinny physique, body type, dark circles, certain facial features, my weight, what my body looks like, my attitude, not having depression, my body, my weight, everything, my body. So clearly it is a lot to do with their body and how they view themselves. And then what they like about themselves, Most people said their hair or their eyes or their personality. And then how do people feel on a day-to-day basis? We got responses of pretty good, good, just okay, insecure, depends on the day on is how they feel, insecure, I feel bored, I have mixed emotions, I'm stressed, I'm bored, I feel meh, most just happy, depressed, and sad with the world, tired, I'm okay, anxious. And then anything else, there were a lot of people that had depression or that had anxiety that left a lot of positive comments of saying having a day of relaxing or just doing something you enjoy takes away the severity of the feeling. It's like to watch yourself start to hate the few things you still like to do and still know that you can still do it, but you don't like it or you have to force yourself to do it even though you've done it for a long time. Someone said, "Well, considering I'm genderqueer, not many people understand or support me, and it's overwhelming and sad. Sometimes taking your meds is hard, but you need to." Somebody said, "I went to a mental hospital in 2018, and I've had therapy since I was 6. I've always had problems being included, and I haven't been to a friend's house since I was 10. And then somebody says, "Thank you for taking the time to ask these questions. I'm hoping with these responses, the school district will put more funding into mental health resources, as well as more special ed classes in context of academic performance. Once again, thank you for asking these questions and reading my response." A lot of people had an overwhelming response of how glad they were that people would finally start to talk about this and talk about how have an open place to talk about their mental illnesses. Then the key variables were that of the wide range of mental disabilities, such as anxiety, depression. Some people even said they had anorexia, bulimia, etc. A few challenges I expected to face was with the possibility to be a lack of response and even honesty. But I was overwhelmed with the amount of honesty that these high school kids had to offer me. Oftentimes you can expect high schoolers to not take situations seriously. And I expected very few participants in this research, and I was overwhelmed with the amount of participants that I received. However, most teenagers seem to be open with their mental health. Often they are trying to bring awareness to the situation, normalize it even. The teenagers who responded to the survey mostly were incredibly open, more than happy to share their experiences. In fact, many had said, as you heard in the open-ended, how amazing they thought it was to bring light to this very real problem. Parents do not often realize the problem social media entails. Therefore, children are left to struggle on their own. Through the survey, I also got the responses of how it felt nice that they had an outlet to express how they were feeling. However, I was then faced with a few more challenges. I got messages on my social medias on how some were afraid to respond in risk of their anonymity. I reassured them that their anonymity was in fact safe with me and that they had no worries, because in the Google Forms, you did not get asked for an email, you did not get asked for a name, therefore you were not exposed in who you are, and you were not judged for that. The results of this study I found were that a lot of people got a mental illness after the fact that they got social media. However, some people did have it before, so it's not always a social media problem. Some people who had social media did not have any mental illnesses. So I believe that it just depends on the person, and it depends on who you are, on how you handle things, how you view things. It is very much of who you are and what you believe. I think this results of this study mean that social media is not always negative. Social media can have many positive aspects to it, and social media can also be beneficial. Even though my hypothesis was that social media negatively impacts teenagers, I found that that's not always true. That depending on the person, depending on the background that they come from, depending on their home life, their family life, that is all what goes into determining if you are mentally okay for social media or whether you're not mentally okay for social media. It just all depends on the person that you are. So that is my research. If you have any questions, please feel free to say them, to ask them, and I will try to answer them as best as I can. I guess since this is a video, you won't be able to ask them to me personally, but you can ask them to the professor, or he'll write them down. I'm not quite sure how that works, but then I will respond to them in an essay. So thank you for watching my presentation. I hope everybody has a good day. Bye.